Hi and welcome back to 8-Bit Resurgence. Today we're going to be talking about the MyRetroComputers c64x that I received a while back. And the one that I ended up getting is the translucent version with the RGB multicolor backlit keyboard. And we're going to open it up, see what we got in the box, and maybe even compare it to the original c64x that was produced in the 90s and see how it compares quality-wise. So stay tuned. Alright, so let's go back to early 90s before we get into what MyRetroComputers has produced. Back in the early 90s, after the demise of the 8-bit Commodore that we all know, a company called Commodore USA came up with an idea of producing a bread bin. Looked like a bread bin, but was a modern computer. So if you're around back then, or you read about it, back then PCs were, of course, gaining lots of strength and continue to do so. And the 8-bit Commodores and that technology had faded away. And the guy that ran it, he wanted to, I guess, capture the audience that still loved that format of computer, the standalone keyboard that hooked up to a monitor. And so he came up with the C64X, and it was, a lot of people are going to argue that it's not Commodore, but it was actually, they were a legitimate version or progression of what Commodore became after they folded as the 8-bit company that we remember. So he produced this thing. It had a keyboard. It wasn't the same kind of keyboard. It was a fancier USB keyboard. Looked very similar to the original Commodore with some extra keys. The Breadbin case, it looked like a Breadbin case with an extra function key in the keyboard, but it housed a MyRetroComputers PC. So that's a MyRetroComputers. If you don't know what it is, it's just a small footprint PC, and it typically has all the things incorporated into it. There's the CPU and the memory and the video card and the networking and USB and so forth. Everything is on this little board. And he managed to fit that into a pretty accurately sized bread bin case. So I thought we'd start out by just having a quick look at an original C64X from the 90s. I happen to own one of those. And we'll look at the box, we'll have a quick look at the machine. This isn't about that so much as the one that MyRetroComputers produced. That's what this is really about. But I thought, let's have a look and see what the quality was like of the original, and then we can speak to what we're seeing in the production that was made by MyRetroComputers. So if you look here, this is the original box of a 64X. It was, you can see in the picture, it looks like a bread bin. You count the function keys, you'll notice that it doesn't have quite the same number of keys. It has an extra one. And but this is a very nice box they produced. It doesn't look exactly the same as a Commodore box back from the day, but it is very nicely made. Here it's extolling the virtues of the operating system, which was a Ubuntu Linux operating system that they put on it. and they were showing you all the different things that you could do with it. It had Wi-Fi and HDMI, and it had USB ports, a DVD drive in it, a hard drive. It was obviously a much more powerful machine than Commodore from back in the day, and they even went so far as to say that you could run Windows 7 on it. So, for back in the 90s, it was probably a rather powerful machine in that footprint that looks like a Commodore. So he's trying to capture that audience, capture that market a bit, and I don't think it was horribly successful, but it is a really nice machine. So let's have a look at the machine itself, and then we'll be able to compare it in terms of quality. So this is the original C64x. If you can hear that, it has a little bit of a clicky keyboard, kind of like Cherry MX switches in it. It has function keys, but they're not the F keys. It has an internet button, which is kind of funny by today's standards. Push the button to start the internet. Has an email button, files for obviously to bring up the file explorer, and volume control, and then your keyboard that looks very similar to the original Commodore keyboard. It's a very nice keyboard. I've used this a bit, this machine. It's not my primary machine, of course. I find it's not powerful enough by today's standards for the things that I do on my machine. The little LED here is the power light as well as the power switch, which was kind of neat. And then look at the back of the machine. It has your typical back plate that you would have seen on 90s PCs with all the different ports. It has a PS2 keyboard mouse port, which was something that you could have put on back then. It has USB ports, has an HDMI, has a SATA, has a DVI, and then all the audio outputs. This is the cooling fan here. This particular one, I designed the fan based off of some pictures that I saw. My machine didn't come with that piece of plastic, that fan. And if we look at the back, it does have the original Commodore USA sticker on the back, that it's a C64X, even the serial number. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the date on it, which would have really been nice to have on there. So in terms of quality, this is a really, really nicely made machine. The mold that they used was wonderful. It's at least as nice as the Commodores were back in the day. Probably, I'd even say it's probably nicer. It's really quite a nice machine. So MyRetroComputers does have a lot to live up to with this machine. It's the C64X I'm considering as the gold standard of this iteration of the Breadbin, if you want to call it that. And let's have a look at how they did. Okay, so this is the box that arrived some months back. Now, I'm actually quite surprised that I got it as soon as I did. What drove me to make this video, I've had this for many, many months. It was either end of last year or beginning of this that this actually arrived on my doorstep. I don't remember the date. I remember it was winter and it was cold, and when I brought it off the front porch where it had been dropped off by the courier, it was covered in snow. So it was some time ago that I had this, And I kind of found it really strange that I got this when I did, because he wasn't shipping out the translucent product, the bare bones kits, at that point. And he was fulfilling the different colored ones, but he wasn't in a position where he could fulfill these. So why I got this one when I did, I have no idea. And I didn't do anything with it. I didn't even open the box. This will be the first time I open it up. And the reason why I didn't really want to do anything with it is because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I knew that I didn't want to build it into another PC. I didn't want to buy another MyRetroComputers board because I have a c64x already that has a MyRetroComputers. I was thinking of doing something different. And after we open this up and have a look and see what's in the box, hopefully it's all in good shape. The cardboard box is in good shape, so I suspect that what's inside is going to be okay too. Then I'll discuss what I decided to do with this. So the box itself looks, if you're looking at it and you've seen the original box before, looks very similar. Same font, same style. Obviously it has the translucent case with the RGB illuminated keys. It has a little cartoon character there, which is kind of cute. But otherwise the box looks very similar to what Commodore was producing back then. And they did actually license this through Commodore, so they are legitimately showing the Commodore logo, which I found very cool. If we flip over the box, it again it discusses turning this into a modern machine. It doesn't have your old Commodore motherboard inside. I think it's a really neat idea. I know a lot of people, they didn't like the 64X back then. They thought it was sacrilege, that it shouldn't be a Windows machine, but I kind of dug the idea. It's neat, it's, I don't know, modern, progressive, whatever. I thought it was a cool idea. I don't think it diminishes the old Commodores in any way, but I think it's fun. So anyway, I always try to support people in the community that are doing things Commodore related. This is most certainly Commodore related. I actually consider this a continuation of the C64X from the 90s, because I believe he used the same molds. I don't know if he's cleaned them up or improved them in any way, but we will soon see how his case compares to the original one that we just had a look at. So let's open up the box and see what's inside. The box opens up the same way as the original. It says welcome to the world of friendly computing on here. I'll probably have to take a picture of it. It doesn't show very well on the camera because this is rather large. So here is the contents of the box. I definitely have the translucent one in there. Looks like he has a bare bones guide, which undoubtedly discusses perhaps the what you can do with it, how to put things into it, what kind of boards you can take, and so forth. We'll have to have a look at that later. This is the box that used to have the power supply in it. In here are some bundle ties and adhesive things to lock cables in place, and some screws, so that's nice. Originally this would have held the power supply and RF modulator, RF modulator if it was a VIC, video cable, that sort of thing, RF cable. So here it is. Here's the, I'll just put this box aside here, and we'll have a look at this. So, it has some styrofoam or foam on the side, not styrofoam. The original was styrofoam. This has some nice foam to protect it, so that's nice. It's formed into the shape of the machine, and there's a piece of cardboard over it, and I believe he did that because they were finding that maybe there were some keycaps popping off or something. Anyway, there's a rubber band holding that in place, and we'll put that aside, and then we'll take this elastic band off. Held that in place, and it's in plastic, so we'll discard that, and there it is. The keys feel all right. The case looks quite nice. It is not clear. It is translucent, and I don't think he ever said it was going to be clear. It is a translucent case. And the back, it has a similar label on it in comparison to the previous one. It has the rubber feet. The screws are not in it, so we should be able to open it up. And the same opening on the back, and it does have that that plastic fan protector, and it appears to even have the fan in it, which is nice. So let's I'm gonna actually get the c64x and see if I can get them both in frame. So this is it looks the same. The keys feel, I'd say they're comparable in terms of feel. They maintain the power switch, which is the same. They have the same style of badge on it, which is nice. So far, and the quality of the plastic looks really, really nice. So thumbs up at this point. It looks like a really nice continuation of the original C64X. So let's open it up and have a look and see what's inside. So that is it inside. It has a couple of USB ports on the side, and that's it. So they don't have the card reader anymore. And this is, of course, the USB plug-in for a motherboard, and it has the fan that goes in there, and then it has a mounting plate for perhaps a hard drive could be mounted here, or a slot drive DVD if you can even find them anymore, and the power cable for the fan. The keyboard looks like a whole ton of LEDs on here, and has a connector. Of course, this is supposed to go onto the motherboard for the USB connection of the keyboard. And then this would more than likely be oh yeah, it says on there power switch and the LED, and it shows positive and negative for the LEDs, positive and negative for the power switch. Doesn't really need that, but no, looking at the case, the quality looks really nice. It is, you can see my hands through it, so it is transparent to a degree. It has a little bit of a rough surface on it, a textured surface, I'd say, and the quality is really nice on this. Yeah. So this is the c64x from MyRetroComputers, the Kickstarter. And from what I've seen so far, this looks really nice. The quality, the plastic is nice. It fits together really solidly, and the keys look really nice. You probably can't see it on the camera, but they are a tinted transparent key. So when at this angle, and I think you can probably see that in the camera. You can certainly see the switch in behind the spacebar, and you can see the switches actually through all of the keys. So it is going to show light through, and yeah, the text on the keys are nice and complete. So I think, yeah, this is good job. It looks really nice. The quality is there, and I'm pleased. So what am I going to do with it? And I've been struggling with that for some time. After I got this thing, I didn't want to buy a MyRetroComputers board. I didn't need a powerhouse PC. I wanted to do something a little bit different with this, but I didn't know what. And there was a post, I believe it came through Kickstarter. It was something that he had posted there, that he had this PiMyITX or something it was called. And it was a kit that you could buy from his shop that allowed you to build a Raspberry Pi into this. And I thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool. I mean, I've done it with I made my own conversion kit some time ago for a C64, and I did that, but then I reversed it because I felt guilty for putting that into an original 64. So I don't have a Raspberry Pi deployed in anything at the moment. And Pis are cool. You can do all sorts of interesting things with it, and I could even run an emulator if I wanted to, if I installed one in here. So I saw he had some available on his shop, so I thought, that's going to be a good thing that I could do with this. So I went on his shop, ordered it, and again, some time ago I got it and put it aside, put it alongside this case, and promptly forgot about it again. I been busy with other projects. So I saw the post in my email recently that he was planning on shipping these. Again, why I got mine so long ago and why I didn't do anything with this are two mysteries that nobody will ever know. But let's open up the Pi conversion kit for this and see what I got. So this is the kit that came to me. It's just in a nondescript box, and yeah, so it is called a PiMyITX kit, and this tells me all the things that are supposed to be in here. Apparently there may be some freebies in here too. So let's have a look and see what we got. So in here is a full-size HDMI cable. This is a mini HDMI to full-size HDMI. We have a SATA to USB, and that's, I guess, so I could have hook a hard drive up to my Pi, which would be kind of cool. Maybe put an SSD or something in there. I think I might have one laying around here someplace. Okay, here's a USB cable, 2 USB cables in one. Okay, that will actually replace the one that's in there, I guess, because and here's the mounting plate that will replace the one that's in there, because that one has the end that plugs into a motherboard, mini ITX motherboard. So we don't need that one because we're going to use a Pi. So this one will plug into the USB port on the Pi. So that's good. So we got that. What else do we have here? Network. You need to have network on a Pi. And so we have that. What else do we have? Oh, that's nice. It's a metal backing plate. That's really nice. Very nice quality. And in a plastic bag so it doesn't get scratched. Good job. Alright, use a little bag. You have some screws. And what else do we have here? I have no idea. A little cardboard box. And in here is... oh, that's nice. That's clever. This is an SD card extender that has a transflash or micro SD card on the end, so you can plug that into the Raspberry Pi and presumably mount that through this slot in here, so you can put your distribution on that SD card without opening up the machine. Smart. Very nice. Alright, and this is... okay. This is a USB plug that has pins out the end that allow you to plug the keyboard in, because remember we looked at that and it had a pin connector that would plug onto the motherboard for the USB. Obviously a Pi doesn't have that, but this adapts that cable so that you can plug that keyboard into your Raspberry Pi, which is a great idea. And then here are some more screws for whatever. And what do we have here? We have a USB to USB. Okay, so this is a USB hub that they included in this. I didn't even remember all the stuff that came in the kit. It's been so long ago. That's really cool. So you can plug you'll get, obviously you need more USB ports for all this stuff that they included in here. And it's a USB hub that'll go into the Pi and into that and give you all those USB ports that you need. And then another box. I think this is one of the freebies. Yes, it is. It's a little black USB mouse. Alright. Well, feels okay. It's a little optical USB mouse. I'm sure I'll be able to make use of that. I'll certainly use this. So, the guy that ran the campaign is watching this. Thanks very much for the freebies. And the last thing that's in here is, I guess it's the metal plate that everything mounts to. Very nice. It has standoffs pressed into the metal, and that's where the Pi will sit. And it has mounting points for the case, and I'm going to presume that this bracket on the side is where the SD card is going to mount to. So I have my work cut out for me to assemble all of this into the machine. So I don't know if I'm going to waste your time while I fiddle around with this to get everything installed, but I will probably pause the recording for a little bit and mount all of this stuff in here, and then we can have a look and see what this looks like installed in the case. So through the magic of editing, I'll be right back. Alright, well, it's been a few hours, and I did compress the video of me building it. It wasn't as straightforward as I had hoped it was going to be. The kit is good. There's lots of good components in it. However, the hardware, not all the right sizes, and the Pi, the opening in the back of the machine, that black plate, is punched a little high for mounting it onto that base plate. So I have a whole ton of different hardware at my disposal, so I was able to use, for example, I threaded through some 10mm M2 screws through the bottom of the plate. I was able to stack 6 washers on each side, or on each bolt, and then I was able to put the Pi4 on top of that, and that spaced it up to the right height to get through the back. The USB hub doesn't line up perfectly with the Pi4, so that was a bit of a struggle. The 4 brass posts that it came with was nice to have, but they didn't line up completely straight. I had to bend them a little bit on my screws that I installed from the bottom, so good luck ever getting those out. But I managed to get it all installed, and it's nice and tight, everything. Got the keyboard hooked up, and that works. I haven't done the power switch, which I believe I have to hook up somehow onto the GPIO headers, and then maybe put some code into the the Linux distribution. But I'm not doing that right away. And then of course the power light, probably just to the 5 volts and ground on the GPIO header. Still have to do that. The SATA cable I thought was for hard drive, but it's actually, it says on the packaging, if I would have read it, that it's for a DVD drive. So, which I didn't have, and I'm not going to bother putting into this. I'll probably just build a plate for that and cover up that opening. You may have seen, I did compress it a lot. The base of the machine, I did put heat sets in there, and I was thankful I did that because that allowed me to move the plate around enough that I could line up the SD card extension. I could line that up with the opening, and that worked out really nice. Routing the cables was a little bit tight, but it's bound to be tight. You know, there's a lot of things going on in the case. The network cable that came with it, the holes don't line up with the plate on the back. However, I do have a whole bunch of that sort of stuff sitting here, which I had purchased for my Pi installation with my Raspberry Pi installation kit for Breadbins and 64s and 16s and all that. So I have a whole bunch of those. The one that came with the kit doesn't fit. The one that I did have actually fits in that square opening. It fits right through that hole. So it's like that plate was designed for the network cable that I had on hand, not the one that came in the kit. Again, the holes didn't line up perfectly. I had to drill that out, not the plate, but the network cable connection. I drilled that out, and then I used some black oxide screws that I use for all my cases and stuff, and that worked out quite well on the back. And otherwise, I had a Pi4 Linux distribution already from a previous project, so I plugged that in and it booted right up. So, and the backlit keyboard starts up real nice. It took me a little while to figure out how to control the effects, but that's done actually with the function / right square bracket, left square bracket, and apostrophe and quote. Those key combinations. So I've got the overhead camera going, and I'm going to go through some of these effects so that you can see. So this changes the different effects. So right now it's blinking, and that fades. And this cycles through all the different colors of the rainbow. And this is kind of a sweeping rainbow effect. It's kind of cool. This one changes colors all over the keys. It's crazy. That's some kind of effect, isn't it? And now this one, every time you touch a key, the whole keyboard lights up and then fades out. That's kind of neat. And then this one will illuminate whatever row you're touching. I think this one just illuminates the key that you've pressed, and then it fades out again. It's kind of cool. This is all over the place. Lots and lots of color. This is a very interesting keyboard. I've never seen anything like this one before. This is again multicolors, different effects. It's kind of chasing back and forth. Going up, changing colors. This has a lot of effects. Somebody spent a lot of time working on this. This is very cool. I can't say that I will ever use that many of these effects, but it sure is different, isn't it? Okay, so now we're back at the beginning, solid. Now you can change the color of this by function quote. So there's green, blue, yellow, purple, cyan, white, and back to red. And then the square brackets, so function left and right square brackets, change the brightness. So the right one makes it go down to nothing, and the left one makes it go bright to the brightest. So those are the effects of this keyboard, and it's pretty cool. I saw a video, a little bit, some of the effects on YouTube, probably from MyRetroComputers website. But yeah, it's really neat. There's lots of lights and they work okay. No complaints. The keyboard feels nice, and I think this is a pretty cool machine. So the only issue that I had, if I was going to complain about anything, was that Pi installation kit. It could have gone smoother. In the end, it does work. You know, the hub works, gives me all the USB connections that I need. I've tested the ports on the back and the side. They work both. Of course, that has nothing to do with the installation kit per se, in that USB ports work and the video port works. Power obviously works. So overall, it's a really nice installation. I like it. I like this as a Pi computer. I think I'm going to leave it like this. I will see if I can. I haven't done very much with Raspberry Pis. I think you can hook up a SATA hard drive to it. I put it's a 480 gig hard drive SSD that I had lying around. I installed that. I'm going to have to get an adapter cable to go to USB and try hooking that in and see if I can get that working. That would be kind of cool, because, you know, running everything off a 32 gig SD card, which is what I've got in there, might be nice to be able to install stuff and have a little bit more storage space in the machine. So that was that's the MyRetroComputers Kickstarter translucent Breadbin case with the illuminated keyboard. It's very cool. The quality, you can see that like that. It's really good, and I'm real happy with it. It compares real nice to the original C64x. I'd say it's comparable. Same quality. The keyboard is wonderful. The keyboard has I've done a little bit of typing off camera after I got this up and running, and I love the keyboard. It's really nice. It's as nice as the original C64x keyboard, which was a wonderful keyboard on that as well. So I think that's all I wanted to cover on it. I wanted to thank you for joining me and watching till the end, watching the awesome light show on it, and we'll see you next time on 8-Bit Resurgence. Bye for now.